be on the agenda last, and I promised Chris that I wasn't going to, like the Clint Eastwood faction, do anything with the chair or anything of that nature. And I assured him that I would be brief because I recognize too that I'm standing in the way of the rest of your New Year's Day and good football games and so forth. And so I'll keep my remarks at about 45 minutes. Move forward. Let me, as I mentioned, this is very humbling for me. And again, I want to thank you. And I think Stan does, as the Commissioner Dale mentioned, and the staff deserve an incredible hand for this wonderful program. And I want to thank all of those who just took that oath, especially. To paraphrase Teddy Roosevelt, the person in the arena, those of you that have come forth, put yourself out there for public scrutiny in a very, very difficult time, really needs to be commended. Not like those poor, pitiful souls that never know the difference between victory and defeat. So I want to thank each of you for stepping up to the plate in terms of public service to our community. I also thought it was incredible forward thinking on Stan's part to have my friend Orlando and I come and impart a few pearls of wisdom from two great American family household names like Sanchez and Noriega. Thank you, Stan, for that opportunity. Swearing in an oath, doing your duty to protect, preserve, and defend is something like many of you that are in this room we've done, in addition to protect this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I noticed there were a lot of persons in here, guests and others, that were wearing like U.S. Army pins and others. The veterans that are in here, please raise your hand so we can recognize you for your service. I was sharing, well, those of you that are Army types will go out afterward and go on a little run. I was sharing with Orlando, he's an Air Force veteran. I wasn't smart enough to get into the Air Force, but while we go on the run, the Air Force guys can do Pilates or whatever it is y'all do. We collectively know that this particular oath that you just took means a lot more than just the words that were regurgitated. It's tough being in public office, especially in this day and age. I am reminded of the son who's in the room in the morning, and the mother comes to wake up the son and says, "Son, it's time for you to get up and go to school right now." And the son says, "But Mom, I don't want to go to school. Teachers don't like me, assistant principals don't like me, nurses don't like me, counselors don't like me, the janitor doesn't like me. No one likes me. Why do I have to go to school?" She says, "Son, because you're 55 years old and you're the principal." Now, as elected officials, many of you face that challenge in many ways. But you are called to a higher standard now, as Orlando was talking about. And your job is much, much, much more as the stewards of the public trust, and what your legacy of servant leadership will be during this time. This last year for the Noriega family was a bit difficult. I lost my dad at 83, diabetes, and it also reminds me too of the time I was deployed overseas in Afghanistan. We lost 4 guys that were in a tent nearby. And it made me think about my particular legacy in terms of servant leadership and public service. And it occurred to me, my wife and I were celebrating my 51st birthday this next week. And if I did the math, and if I'm still kicking it pretty good till I'm 85, and I'll be 55 next week, it's 30 years times 365 days. I've got 10,900 something 50 days left, thereabouts. And each of us can do that same math. And the truism is that every day I've got like this jar of Ronald Reagan jelly beans. And every day day I take out a jelly bean, never to be replaced. And that's it. That is a fact. And each and every one of us can do that same mathematics. And so, in this particular environment that you're in, of public service in a public way, you've got so many days in that particular area of responsibility, duty, calling, fate, karma, whatever you want to call it. Why you're at this place at this time in your life is purposeful. It's not by accident, in my opinion. And so, you make incredible decisions in this arena. Although there may be national discussions about the fiscal cliff, and there may be discussions at the state level about different budget issues, the decisions you make every day really impact the families of our community in a very meaningful way. Whether it's law enforcement, the use of force, whether it's separations of families, this is ground zero of public service. How we affect the families in our community, and how we're a better community for it because of your service. You have to exercise wisdom. You have to exercise being fair and compassionate. You have to do all of these, consider all of these things in your service. Your job doesn't stop there. As a public official, you're going to have to, you have a greater duty. You have a greater duty as a leader within the mosaic, the fabric of our community, so that Harris County is a greater community than the way we inherited it. We stand on some very tall shoulders, and in the positions you are in, you have a higher calling, a greater calling to this community. And so I commend you for stepping up to the plate and taking on that duty. And I want to thank you. I salute you. And I know that on behalf of the Noriega family, we will keep you in our prayers. And we just ask that you, each and every one of you, are protected by the whole armor of God as you move forward each and every day in the service of our neighbors, in the service of our community, so that Harris County can continue to be a wonderful and great community. Thank you so much for your opportunity.